are people who have access to the internet and who are currently using it to watch this video. My name is PunFood, or just Pun if you prefer, and we're here in Medali, and I guess we're ready to set forth on our journey up the mountain. I don't really have much else to say. This is the team I'm going to be running with for now. This is mostly based on Frigibax can literally evolve. It's already past its evolution level. We just need to level it up once. And Steve will be evolving shortly, so hopefully we can reach that level. But this is the team I'm journeying with up the mountain. Only Steve and Roll I'm planning on using in the next gym battle. But I don't even know if I'm planning on fully using Roll in that said next gym battle. Anyway, I mean, I probably will. So before we go, this pathway out of Medali leads down over to Casaroya Lake. Which is a little high level, so I don't personally recommend going over there. And this pathway out of Medali leads to the way that they probably intended you to get to Medali, except you're nowhere near, that path. Like, again, this pathway goes down under this place and over by Porto Marinata. But as a reminder, our last objective was over here. So, like, they expect you to fly back there and then go through there when there's this clearly easier tunnel path? I don't know. Anyway, I do still need, one more thing in West Province Area 3, but it extends up here so I can, and by thing I mean, battle. Need one more, trainer battle in order to get my prize, but I can always go up north, or maybe just quickly roam around and see if there's just like a trainer. Oh, hello, Tropius. Didn't really mean to run into you. I think I already caught you. Yeah, okay. So, where was I? What was I saying? What was I doing? Right, we want to head a bit more northward. Because, there's gonna be... I'm hoping I can just find a trainer really quickly. You look like a trainer. Okay, hold on. I just want to grab everything I see. Anyway, I think my Pokemon's the cutest. That's great. I just want to fight you really fast so I can double back to Medali and quickly get my reward, whatever it is. Before, making my way up the mountain. Anyway, this is like my first real... I love Bergmite, actually. It's just a shame Hisuian Avalugg is actively kind of worse than regular Avalugg. But, I just generally think that, something. It's increasing its defense. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Okay. Sure. What was I saying? Avalugg, yeah, this is my first, adventure episode, so to speak, that I've done in a while. Well, I guess I did do the one going through the cave, but we also specifically were adding new team members, not just fighting, random trainers and wild Pokemon as we journey up a mountain. Which makes a world of difference. Anyway. I hope to get a good amount done this episode. But it's basically just gonna be me journeying up the mountain and showing you how to get to our next location. So, yeah. I don't know what else to really say. I normally do the grinding, for levels, off camera. Which makes sense, in between recordings, I guess. I don't really have a camera. But, it doesn't really... I've always held the mentality of, it wouldn't make sense to be here's a guide on how to get through the game according to the level scaling, and not have me show you how to get to location. It would honestly maybe be a more boring series if I was just taking you from gym leader to gym leader and saying, here's the gym leader hears me fighting them and basically beating them because, you know, they're kind of not that hard to defeat when you go in with 6 Pokemon, and also, you know, they don't have necessarily the strongest Pokemon for the point in the game you're at. You know, whatever. I don't know. I don't think I'm never mad about the difficulty of Pokemon. I think Pokemon is actually at a pretty good difficulty for, you know, children, and also just for my personal satisfaction. I don't care that much about if a game is, like, hard. Like, I like a challenge, but it's like, I also just like to mess around in a game and not care. And I say Scarlet and Violet makes up for that with some of its later battles, and definitely in its DLC. It gets a lot more difficult, I guess. Not harder, but more difficult, more thought, you know. But in the main story, it's basically just, you know, do you have a type that's super effective against the challenge you're going up against? If yes, then you win. I think immediately a good way. I think it also doesn't help that I'm not even going in with just a team of 6, but I'm going in with a team of 18, meaning I can hyper-specialize and pick what Pokemon I want for each gym, versus if I was just doing a team of 6, A, I'd probably be over-leveled just on accident, kinda, but also B, I wouldn't really have, do I have a Vigoroth? No, okay. I do want to catch some more Pokemon for the Pokedex rewards. So let's just try an Ultra Ball. But I also think, what was I saying? You know, if you're going with a team of 6, you're probably going to be over-leveled because each objective is spread out throughout the map, but they're also slow close together in level, except for, you know, the Ghost Gym, which is such a massive level jump for some reason. You know. And then you get to the whole aspect of, like, if you're doing a team of 6, you know, well, you'll be over-leveled. Sure, you won't have as much diversity on the team. You won't necessarily be able to handpick a fighting type to take on the normal gym if you don't have a fighting type on your team of 6. So it might be harder to cover for some of your weaknesses. It's always hungry because it won't stop rampaging. Even while it's eating, it can't keep still. Sounds like my friend. Anyway. But basically, you know, doing a team of 6 is going to be more difficult, and it can be difficult. But when you're me and you're given such options to just use whatever Pokemon you kind of feel like, you know, of the 18 types, you know, it's not that hard to make a team around, you know, like, just, you know, for specific gyms, I guess, is a better... I didn't even mean to target that. Anyway. So, you know, of course the game is gonna be easy from my perspective when I'm leveling up appropriately, and also I'm building teams specifically for the challenges I'm encountering, you know, right? But, you know, I do think Scarlet and Violet, I also think it doesn't help that the gym leaders all predictably terrestrialize into the type of their gym, as opposed to covering one of their weaknesses. Like, I think it would have been cooler if the gym leader's ace Pokemon was still a Pokemon of their type, and then they terrestrialized it into a type that, you know, has an advantage. Like, for the water gym, they could have very easily just said, okay, we're terrestrializing into the flying type, because flying's strong against... Well, I guess it's not good for electric, actually. I'm really trying hard to remember, like... There's gotta be one type that kinda beats both electric and grass. They could terrestrialize into the grass type, because your super effective fire moves would be shot down by the water types. Are we officially in a different area? I can't tell. I need to cross the river again to tell. No, we're not. Okay. Oh, Dreepy. Dreepy is a pseudo-legendary from Gen 8. It's just kind of chilling here, I guess, so I'm gonna try and catch it if it doesn't get in this first quick ball. then I'm just gonna beat it up, I guess. Oh, well, it got in the first quick ball. You're no fun. Anyway. So, I might actually make it to Montenevera all in one episode, which would be interesting. Anyway, it has a habit of biting at Clauncher even though it doesn't feed on them. This is said to be a vestigial behavior from when Dreepy was still alive. One of the few ghost types that's actually like a ghost, I guess. I don't know, there are actually more. Actually, it's kind of rare for ghost types to not be ghosts. Anyway, Glaciato Mountain Path. I don't really need to fight you. You're not even technically part of Glaciato Mountain, so don't know why I would. Like, I'm still getting... You know what, I'll fight you just to see what your level is, you know. Backpacker's only weakness is Steel-type moves? Is that what you said? Anyway, so if the gym leaders at least terrestrialize to cover their weaknesses instead of, you know, just terrestrializing for the sake of, you know, taking a Pokemon that's not their type and making it their type, you know, I think we'd be a lot better off. Alright, Leafeon I think is actually kind of defensive, isn't it? Alright, I missed. Okay. Wish I brought a fire type now. This could be one of our only uses for winter for a while, so I guess I'll bring it out. I don't expect it to hit me with a fire blast. So yeah, they are decently high leveled around here. At 38. We'll go Avalanche. I think it's faster. I forget if Avalanche is always if you're after the opponent or only if they attack you. It might be always. Not sure. Anyway. I don't know that we'll make it up the mountain all in one day. Okay, inflicted damage. Well, I can guarantee you it's probably going to do that. Okay. I'm actually glad that that wasn't our boosted damage. There we go. Leafeon goes down. We get EXP. That's great. Unfortunately, Frigibax takes such a long time to level up just due to being a pseudo-legendary. Because it's technically not a pseudo-legendary itself. It's, you know, but whatever. I don't want to do that. My controller needs to stop being weird. Okay. You were already faster. I don't know what the point of that really is. So, at least the sunlight's gone. All set by Leech Seed. Okay. Twin Beam. We should take that. Kinda well. And hopefully we just kill with Avalanche. If we don't... Okay. I might need to switch. Okay. So... The lesson that I have learned today is send in Roll. Roll isn't that specially defensive, so if it goes for another Twin Beam, I'm hoping it just goes for like a quick attack or something. Double hit, and it misses. Okay, cool. And we're not Leech Seed, so we can just hit with Bite. I don't know that we can take that. Oh, okay, we can take it. Okay. Hit with Bite. And please go down. Okay, thank you. Alright, that wasn't too bad. But I definitely need a Pokemon Center before, like, anything else. At the very least, I should auto-heal up. Darn, you saw through my lie. Oh, saying that backpackers are only weak to steel? Okay. Anyway. Anything else? Oops. Didn't really mean to run into you. I don't know that we're gonna make it to Majin Vale. More so just from, like, it's decently far away. But once we do make it to Majin Vale, though, I can just, you know... But if we do, you know, I can just end the episode and, you know, everything will be good, basically. I need to stop saying so much. I forget which way goes where. Okay, this one goes to the grasp, and then further kind of around. This one's more direct. So you have a couple options. You can go this way or the other way. They both lead to around the same place. Actually, I could... Oh, I don't want to risk the fighting. Let's fight this Cubchoo really quick. I'll see how a quick ball works. Alright. Critical capture, so it should succeed. I've very rarely seen a Pokemon break through a critical catch. Anyway. Yeah, we might only make it like halfway up the mountain before the episode's through. When Cubchoo starts sneezing, watch out. If it splatters you with its frosty snot, you'll get frostbite. Alright. Can send it to the box. I need to think of a nickname for Frigibax. And I'm not really sure what. But I have to think of one, so... It's a wild Frostlass. I'll fight it. I'm not scared of you. So... I'll just use Rage Fist and hopefully everything's okay. Icy Wind. Okay, that's not that bad. Speed fell, but I was already slower, so like... But it is concerning that Icy Wind did that much for such a low power move. Okay. Please don't kill. Oh, that was even a crit. Now I'm angry. Alright, so... Oh, I'm really hearing the, difference in the battle themes. I noticed, like, the, Glaciato Mountain theme in the background of the battle theme, because we're fighting on Glaciato Mountain. You know. I mean, that obviously kind of makes sense, you know, right? And we live in a world of, you know, creating more than just one generic battle theme and, you know, a couple of boss fight themes, right? But it's still always nice when you hear, you know, like, differences in battle themes just based on location. You know, they really didn't necessarily have to do that. You know, and people say Game Freak's lazy. I mean, I think it's more so Game Freak is just kind of bad at programming. But then again, they have to program a lot into these games. You know, so when one or two things slips by, specifically in the multiplayer, you know, like, I don't know, I can excuse that. And also, you know, you can obviously patch things, you know, later in the modern age. I don't think that games should have to be patched later, but you can. But this is a great view. You know. Kinda, sorta. I don't know. Unfortunately, we won't be going back there for a long time. Anyway. I guess let's head up the path to the Pokemon Center. I'll come back and maybe fight you later. I just want to get to this Pokemon Center, though. Oh, there's Delibird. I should also catch that while I'm here. I wonder if I can buy Quick Balls now. I don't have that memorized, like, when I unlock Quick Balls. But here's sort of the halfway point Pokemon Center. Anyway. So... I'm really close to doing stuff, so... I don't know. Can I buy Quick Balls? That is the question I would like to ask. Oop. Dive Ball, Luxury Ball... No. Okay, it's probably after the next gym then. They recognized how powerful Quick Balls are, and they don't want you to have them. Level 40, kind of scary, but, you know. As much as I kind of complained about the jump in levels between normal and ghost. It's not that bad when you consider that fighting higher level opponents means you get more EXP, you know. And I also think that it's pretty obvious you're not necessarily meant to, like, immediately go to the next thing, but considering how all the other gyms were handled, it feels like in some ways that was their philosophy. Like, I feel like there are remnants of a well-balanced Pokemon game in the design of Scarlet and Violet, but unfortunately they embraced open world game design, which is just like the worst thing you could do as a developer is go open world with your game. I don't know, that's all just, this is all just my opinion, obviously, you know. If you like open world games, that's on you. I personally kind of hate them. Cross chop is just worse close combat. Okay. Anyway, roll with double edge. Sure, I don't really need baby doll eyes. But, like, you know, I look at some of the gym leaders and I'm like, and I look at some of the way the region is laid out and I'm like, if they just went with their original plan, you know, I think things would actually be kind of decent, you know. But they didn't. They, you know, made it open world, you know. I also think that, you know, if you just, the progression was slightly different, at least in levels, like you could still go anywhere at any time, you know, but they made it so that the order, if you want to follow, like, the levels, you know, if they made that different, that would also be, you know, decent, right? That would also fix some of my issues. I don't know. So that's a pretty long startup time for the move. Okay. Hit with another Rage Fist. So, Graveyard is pretty tanky, I guess. Didn't fully realize that So, anyway. Journeying up the mountain, oh! This is what I was waiting for. Frigibax! Frigibax is now evolving! I really like this base form. It's really grown on me. But it does evolve into a slightly cooler form here, as Arctibax. I don't know, but I feel like as I've looked at it more, it started out being pretty cool, but now I feel like I like Frigibax more. Maybe that's just me, but it's pretty cool. Cool, it's a nice type. Anyway, it's the Ice Fin Pokemon. It attacks with the blade of its frozen dorsal fin by doing a front flip in the air. Arctibax's strong back and legs allow it to pull off this technique. Alright, all the more reason why I need to come up with a name for this thing. I'm just not sure, you know? Snover. Alright, so if we were to say, oh, you're new. Sorta. This is Bronzong. Or Bronzor? Yeah, Bronzong. Okay, I was right. Rage Fist. Psychic type, so actually that's a bit worrying. And the camera does not want to go to a better angle. Ooh, that's not the best. Okay. Unfortunately, like, my whole team is weak to this thing. So maybe not a fight I should have picked. Steel Psychic is a pretty devastating combo. But then again, like, Psychic is kind of not that good at typing, honestly. Like, it's a decent secondary type to get stabbed for high power moves. But, like, I honestly think Psychic is one of the bottom 3 types alongside Grass and Bug. You know. Well, actually, Ice could be better. I'm projecting my fixes for the Ice type into the real world. Brought rains by opening portals to another world. It was revered as the bringer of plentiful harvests. Way to the box you go. So we're just leveling up our team little by little. I'm immediately going back to the Pokemon Center because I'm a little under-leveled. I mean, I'm not over-leveled, I guess, you know. And if you're not over-leveled, you're a little under-leveled. Anyway. I do want to eventually find out where the guy for the Glaciado Mountain challenge fighting trainers is. I think it's closer to the ice gym, but it could also be in Monte Nevera. Okay. You know what? Last thing of the episode, let's see how we match up against this guy. I'm a Courier fan. Okay. I need to not skip through their dialogues if I'm, like, reading them at the same time. That's just like a recipe for disaster. Oh, great. Just great. We've already fought the Grass, Fire, and Water gym, so I may as well bring it up now. It would be better. Let's do Steve. He actually resists stuff. But I personally think that Grass needs a serious buff. Or maybe the other types, like with Grass, that Grass is, like, you know, affected by, need a debuff. I don't know. But it's kind of awkward when, like, you know, Fire is a very, very good type. It is very strong. It has second most resistances after Steel. You know, it's offensively hits pretty good types, you know. Well, really, it just hits Steel, but hitting Steel is pretty good. And hitting other common types like Grass and Bug is also good. You know. But then, you know, you get... And Water is decent defensively because it only has 2 weaknesses. Combine it with Ground and you only have 1. You know. And then there's, yeah, we can learn Stealth Rock, I guess. Don't know when I'm going to use it, but we can. I don't really want Mud Shot. Anyway. Yeah, so Water's pretty good defensively. And again, it hits Rock and Ground, which is pretty good. It hits Fire, which is great, you know. Not heavily resisted. Water resists Steel, you know. Resists a good amount of types. And then you got Grass, which is weak to 5 types. And, you know, resisted by 7. Tied with Bug for the most things to resist you. It only hits the same things as Water, except swapping Fire for Water, obviously. Like, hitting Water is pretty good. You know, but being weak to 5 types and only resisting, you know, yourself, Water, Electric, and Ground, like, don't get me wrong, resisting an Electric and Ground is huge, but, like, it doesn't outweigh the fact that it still has 5 resistances. You would need to have, like, 6 resistances at, like, least to justify having 5 weaknesses, in my opinion. You know, so Grass is just kinda... I think it needs a serious buff, especially because, like, Fire and Water are so good. I get it, Grass is immune to Powder and Spore moves, which makes it decent competitively, but just for a playthrough, it's like the amount of times you have to say, I want to use my starter, and then, like, it has no good matchups, you know, against the entire region, basically, you know, or doesn't do anything better than the Fire and Water starters can. It's a little disappointing, and it makes it hard to pick Grass types other than if you're me and you like Grass types. Suffice to say, I don't know why I was ranting about that. When Steve is evolving... And yeah! This is Steve's final form, further cementing the, reason people call it, like, the Minecraft, you know, Pokemon. Like, it looks kind of similar to a Minecraft Golem in some respects, you know, or like a temple, right? But it's Garganacl, carrying the salt motif all the way through. You know, but now it's Gargantic. Gigantic? Gargantuan, right, anyway. Many Pokemon gather around Garganacl, hoping to lick at its mineral-rich salt. It's kind of weird. Anyway. Now learn Hammer Arm. So that's something. It's already slow, so it's not like Hammer Arm's gonna affect it too negatively. But it's higher power than Headbutt. And fighting is probably better than normal for coverage. But yeah, I guess that is the final moment for this episode, because we're kind of at the roughly halfway point. You know, this is about where I thought we would get this episode. So I'm happy to end it here after we've evolved 2 Pokemon, you know, and now we basically just have to evolve. I think basically our team is almost fully evolved, you know, which is always exciting when it comes to that point of a journey. But, you know, whether or not they do evolve next time, which they probably won't, you know, that's definitely not going to happen for a while. So I guess we'll say that we'll definitely be making it up to Montenevera next time. But for now, my name has been and will be tomorrow, and the day after that, 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 and always will be Pun Food. I wish I could zoom in on my face better. I don't know, my proposed fix for the grass type, kind of unrelated to the entirety of the episode except the last few minutes, but my proposed fix for the grass type would remove flying and bugs' resistance to grass, remove grass's weakness to flying, and make grass super effective against fairy for something like nature revolting against fairies. I don't know. You're normally not supposed to adjust a type's offensive matchups, because then Pokemon would just run coverage of that type, but very few Pokemon aside from fairy types get grass coverage. So I think it would actually work pretty well. But those are just my fixes. I don't know. I might make a separate video about it if I ever get into that kind of content. Who knows?